Hi, I'm Claire. When I planned out the ceiling in this room, I didn't just want beams, I wanted character and texture, but they really needed to be budget friendly too. So I got really creative and I figured out a way to build these beams for only $35 each. So today I'm going to walk you through how I built them, textured them, and made them look like real beams all on a budget. This is the layout of where the beams are going in this room. The width of this area is 78 inches. This means I'm going to need to cut the boards for my beams down to 78 inches in length. So I picked up some pine knotty boards in 8-foot length from Home Depot. To make my beams, I got one 1x12, which I'm going to rip down the center into two boards, just under 6 inches in width. These will be the bottom of the beams. And two 1x8 boards. These will be the sides of the beams, and I'll also rip these down the middle to get 4 pieces out of these two boards. So the finished height of my faux beams is going to be 3 7/8 in height and 5 7/8 in width. These pine knotty boards are inexpensive, and in this application of using them to build beams, the knots just actually add character. For a 1x12 8-foot long board, it's only $30, and for the 1x8, they were $20 each. So for all 3 boards together, these beams are only going to cost $70 in lumber, which works out to only $35 per beam. That's amazing considering when we're done with them, they're going to look like really expensive, beautifully textured, solid beams. Okay, let's get into the beam design. There are a couple ways you can build faux beams like this. You can construct them using a butt joint where you're sandwiching the bottom board in between the 2 side boards. This is a quick and easy way to build them, but depending on the end grain, how you fill them, and whether you're painting or staining these beams, the seams can be visible. Or you can miter the corners by cutting the edge of the boards on a 45-degree angle so that they come together seamlessly at the corners. This gives the appearance of one solid beam, and this is the way I chose to build my beams. I'm starting with the side pieces of the beams, taking these two 1x8 boards and ripping them right down the center with a 45-degree miter cut. Then the first thing I'm going to do is change the angle on my table saw blade to be at a 45-degree bevel. I'm also making sure that my table saw blade is wound up high enough that it is going to cut clearly through the top of my board. Then I need to adjust my fence, so when I rip my boards in half and make my 45-degree bevel cut, I will get 2 exact same size pieces out of the one board. To do this, first I need to find the center of my board, both horizontally and vertically. And then once I had that center measurement, I drew a 45-degree line through that center mark using my speed square as a guide. Then I lined up that 45-degree line to be exactly center of the blade and then locked in my fence on my table saw. I am using a scrap piece of wood that is the exact width of my beam boards and then running it through the table saw to test my measurements. I made a slight adjustment, tested it again, and then made sure that both sides were the exact same measurement. To get a clean and consistent mitered edge on these long boards, I'm using a feather board, especially on these narrower boards, because they naturally want to pull away from the fence. The black teeth on this particular feather board help to apply even pressure, and they also help to prevent kickback, making this process a lot safer and smoother. So because I'm getting 2 boards out of my one board here, the front face will be on opposite sides of each board. So I took some time to pick out the best looking parts of the board and mark those so I know what side is what when I'm making my cuts through the table saw. And this is important because the bevel cut that is running through the table saw is going to determine which side is the front face. So I wanted to pre-pick those out first. These beams are going to have some rustic character, so I didn't worry too much about it. But I did try and avoid any major chips like this one here in this board. So I made sure, for instance, on this board, this side was the back and not one of the front faces. So then it was time to cut the 2 boards that create my 4 side pieces. And then some tips for getting these miter cuts done. Just go slow and steady. Try not to force it and let the blade do the work. Use the feather board like I mentioned before, and have a good push stick to use at the end of the cut. Once I had all my side pieces cut, it was time to cut the bottom piece of the beam, and that's going to fit in between these two bevel cuts that I have here. Then to make this cut on the bottom boards, I'm just going to follow the same procedure I did with the side boards. Find the center of the board. Then I'm going to make that first cut through the middle at 45 degrees and then run them through again, cutting another 45-degree angle on the opposite side of each of the boards. Now, because this board is so wide, I can't actually use the feather board here. But with it being wider, I do have more leverage on the side to keep it tight against the fence. And I'm making sure to stand off to the side and not behind the board to avoid any kickback. So now that I've run the board through once, I'm just running each one through again just to clean up the edges here to make sure I have a really nice mitered cut. And then I'm flipping each of these boards around and getting that 45-degree angled cut on the other side. And then since I'm back to a thinner board, I'm putting my feather board back in because it just helps so much with accuracy and then keeping the boards tight to the fence. I also have a table saw stand set up at the end of the saw, and this just helps support the lumber as it's coming off and stops it from dipping or shifting. To install the beams, I'm going to screw up some 2x4 supports into the joist in the ceiling so that I have something to attach them to. I pre-measured where the joists in the ceiling were, and then transferred those measurements to my 2x4 support, pre-drilled some holes, and started my screws. I previously marked out where I needed the support pieces to go so that I can make sure that it lines up with the edge of my trim that wraps around the top of my built-ins. So I just lined up the support where I had marked it out and then used a scrap piece of wood that was the same width as the beams I'm putting up to make sure that I was lined up correctly with my trim. Then using the same process, I got the next support up for the next beam. Since I was working on this project solo, I found it really helpful to brace my support I was putting up with another piece of wood, and that worked really well, allowing me to screw in one side and then come down, move the ladder, and get the other side all squared up, and then get that screwed in as well. As well as adding the beams in this room, I also shiplapped the ceiling. So I put these supports up first so that I could section off the ceiling and do my shiplap. And then I did take them down as I was working through each section, installing my shiplap boards. And then once my ceiling was all installed with the shiplap, I then put the support beams back up again. So because these 2x4 supports are only 3.5 inches wide, and the inside of my beams will be 4.5 inches, I need to add some filler strips to widen it. I went into my scrap pile and cut some 3/4 inch and 1/4 inch blocks to equal that inch in thickness to attach to the main support. So once I attach the blocks to the 2x4 support, the beam will be able to fit over it snugly like this. I pre-drilled and then added 2 screws to these filler blocks and then screwed one into each end of the 2x4 support and one in the middle. I cut these so they hang about an inch lower than the 2x4 support so that I can screw in from the back side into the side of the beam. This allowed me to dry fit the boards by screwing each piece up individually so that I could get a nice snug fit. More on how I did this in just a bit. So this is how the filler strips look after they're screwed in. And then I wanted to create the same sort of hanging down support on the other side for the other side of the beam. So I went and cut a few 3/4 inch blocks and then drilled some pocket holes in them so that I could screw these supports into the underside of this 2x4 support, as I didn't want to widen the support on this side because it was lining up perfectly with my built-in trim. So then I fastened 3 of these blocks on the opposite side of the support piece, one in each corner, and then again one in the middle. Once I got all those support pieces installed, I was ready to cut my beam pieces to the exact length I needed. I measured each side of the beam to get an exact measurement, as the wall can be slightly off with drywall mud, and I wanted to make sure that I was getting these fitting really tightly from each side of the wall so that there was no gaps. So I would just go out and cut each board and then bring it in and dry fit it and make sure that I had a really tight fit. And then I used my clamps to clamp to those little support blocks that are hanging down that we just installed. And then I screwed in both sides from the inside block into the outside of the beam. And this allowed me to put the pieces up without putting any nails in at this point so that I could get a really great measurement for the bottom piece and dry fit that before I put it up, because I'm gluing these together and I wanted to make sure that I had a really great miter seam before I applied any glue and tried to get that piece up there. So once I had a great fit for all of the pieces of the beam, I took them down and labeled them so I knew where to put them back up. And then I was ready to start the process of raising the grain in these beams and really bringing them to life. So to do that, I used a technique where I attached a wire brush to my drill and worked it back and forth all along all of the boards. So the process of how I did this was to run the drill back and forth in the direction of the grain. So you're trying to get the wire brush deep in the grooves of the grain, and you're just following the grain and moving it back and forth. During this process, you're fighting against the rotation of the drill, like it wants to pull away from you. So having two hands on it is helpful, and taking breaks. The wire brush will definitely leave lots of groove marks within the wood. The idea is to keep moving it back and forth until you remove the softer parts of the grain and you expose the ridges. Once I was done with the wire brush, I went in with my palm sander with an 80 grit sandpaper and removed some of those wire brush marks. This helps to remove the rest of the softer part of the grain and really brings out so much texture. I wanted to smooth out some of those wire marks, but I definitely left quite a few in as it brought out so much definition in the wood once it was stained. I practiced this technique on some scrap pieces and then applied my paint and stain before doing this on my beam pieces, and I highly recommend doing that. This lets you get a feel of how much wire brush versus sanding to do so you don't ruin any of your main pieces. So then I just continued this process for all of the pieces of the beams. This is really hard on the hands, and so I definitely took a break in between the two beams. It's also really messy and there is a lot of sawdust, so it's important to wear a mask, and I actually did have my safety glasses on for a good part of it too because there was just so much dust flying around. Once I was all done with this process, I actually blew these off with my leaf blower and then also wiped them down with a cloth. So then it was time to stain the beams, and I'm actually using a paint and stain combination. So for the first step, I'm putting on a base layer of paint. This color is Sherwin-Williams Antler Velvet. Applying this first color as the base removes the yellow or orangey tones from the pine boards. This paint is an interior eggshell enamel, and it's a stain blocking paint and primer all in one that I slightly thinned out with water. For the next step, I'm adding a slightly lighter color paint to highlight the grain. I'm using Sherwin-Williams Malabar for this step, and I'm taking a very small brush and then just running it along the ridges of the grain, and then taking a sanding sponge and blending it in right away. There really is no artistic talent needed for this step. You're basically just taking the highlighted paint and running it along the raised part of the grain of the wood. I'm using a 220 grit on my sanding sponge here, and you don't want to press too hard. You just want to lightly blend the two colors together, but making sure you leave some definition. I had both of these colors paint matched in Home Depot's little mini sample pots, as you definitely don't need a ton of paint for this process. The next step is to add the gel stain. I'm using Varathane's gel stain in dark walnut here. I found the best application for this was to use a stiff brush. I just got this one at the dollar store. And to dip the brush into the gel stain and then lightly drag it along in the same direction as the wood grain. And then took a rag and blended it in, pushing it into those grooves the wire brush made during the raising the grain process. And then I lightly went over top again with the sanding sponge just to bring out the variation in the color tones. The final step was to add Varathane's classic wood stain in the color dark walnut. And I just used a rag for this, dipping it in the stain, rubbing it on, and then buffing it off. And this is how the boards looked after this process. And then once they were dry, it was time for install. So I decided the best way for me to easily install these beams by myself was to put them together in place instead of assembling them first. I'm doing this by placing one side up, using a clamp to hold it in place, and then screwing it to the support blocks from the inside. Then I just repeat this step for the other side, screwing into the beam side from each of the 3 support blocks. I used a speed square to check that the sides were square in the corners, and a level to make sure both sides were properly lined up on the bottom edge. Once I had both sides of the beams secured, it was time to slide in the bottom piece. I used a lot of glue on the mitered edges, brushing it on both the bottom board edge and the side piece edges up in the ceiling. This part was really messy, but having a lot of glue is essential for a really good bond. Then I pushed this bottom piece up into place, working quickly while the glue was still wet. Since I had a nice tight fit here, my board held up pretty well while I nailed it in place, but you could also use a clamp to hold it while you nail it. Then it was time for the other side, getting both the side pieces secured in place. And here's a closer look at how I fastened these boards. So the main 2x4 support runs along the whole ceiling and is secured into the joists in the ceiling. Then on the other side, I screwed blocks using pocket screws into that 2x4 so I could screw into the beam on that side. And then on the other side, I needed to widen that 2x4 support, so I added 1-inch blocks to that side to widen the area to 4.5 inches. I made sure those filler blocks hung down far enough so that I could screw in from that side as well. This way, I didn't have any large screw holes to have to fill on the outside of the beam. Then once again, I put a lot of glue on both sides of the mitered edge and then got that bottom board pushed up into place. This was a little awkward because of the washer and dryer, but I got it done. I made sure to have some wipes easily on hand so that I could wipe the glue as it did ooze out of the seams as I was pushing this board up. And then I just worked my way along the seam on both sides using pin nails to pin it as I went. And then I followed that up right away, sanding the edge because the sawdust will act as a natural wood filler and help fill the seam. And then anywhere that there was a slight gap, I used the method of taking a screwdriver and running it over the seam, and that just kind of bends the wood and closes the gap. And then I just took my sander and scraped off all of the glue that kind of oozed out of the seam. This did take off a bit of the finish, but touching it up was really easy. Because I used a paint and stain combo, I was able to color match the area really well. Regular stain tends to highlight flaws, but this method made it really easy to blend everything back in seamlessly. And so to do this, I just mixed some paint and stain together and brushed it over the seam. And this is how they turned out. Each beam only cost me $35 in lumber, and even with paint, stain, nails, glue, and all the other supplies, the total came in well under $100. I'm honestly so happy with how they turned out. They have that old rustic charm, but still feel super elevated and elegant. And it's actually kind of amazing that this look came from just a few cheap pine boards. If you enjoyed this, please like this video and subscribe for more budget-friendly DIY projects. And I also shiplap this ceiling myself for only $75 in lumber, so if you want to see how that transformation happened, I have a whole video on that too, so be sure to check it out. Thanks so much for watching.